Gentlemen, I want to start, if we can. Great to have you here. And I'm just looking at the screen there. It looks like you're back in the real world there, Adam. Got the suit on and everything, out of the pyjamas. All right, let's get into
that's
super.
Right. It's good to be in the studio.
There's a lot of talk that industry funds are worried they won't be able to pay out the $10,000 amount the government has allowed people. So actually $20,000 if you go over 2 financial years. How real is that, Adam?
Well, look, I think collectively super funds have about $300 billion of cash, but certainly the funds that will be severely affected by these withdrawals, which are mainly industry funds, such as Host Plus and Rest, they will obviously lose a lot of their members will lose their jobs, and they may well try to withdraw $20,000. If you look at Host Plus, it currently has $46 billion in assets and about $2 billion in cash. Now, if you think that about maybe a third of their members are going to try to withdraw some money, then they may well have a problem. It's largely their own fault, though. The Chief Investment Officer of Host Plus has for years been bragging about how little cash his fund had. So it's a problem in large part through mismanagement.
There's also an issue too with Uni Super, Andrew Stone. It's been mentioned in reports today because it's a defined benefit scheme, and we expect the university sector also to be hit hard because of the fall in, or likely fall, continuing fall in foreign students. What do you make of that?
Well, again, in the same way as Adam was just saying, there's some mismanagement there. In the case of university superannuation funds, it's crazy that they're still running defined benefit schemes. Australia started phasing these out for public servants and other government officials and so forth 3 decades ago. And in fact, one of the good decisions in the 2014 budget was the phasing out essentially the last of those Commonwealth ones for a certain military one. It's insane, really, that the universities are still running these defined benefit schemes. That said, in the current environment, I think the complication is likely to be in the same way as Adam was saying. If you have that the universities, because of problems with foreign students not being able to come and so forth, if they end up having to lay off additional staff, that's what could turn this into an actual problem rather than something they can ride out and hope that the market recovers.
One of the good things out of all of this, there's not many good things, I saw a report today, the Commonwealth Bank is reaching out to Qantas and Virgin staff, Adam, and pledging to bring their call centres home, hallelujah, from India and other places like that, the Philippines, and have Australians answering the calls here. Now, we also know the Prime Minister said last night in his press conference he needs to hire 5,000 extra people, particularly in the social security area, to deal with the influx of Centrelink applicants. You know, maybe we might wake up.
Look, certainly I think that is good news. The reality is, though, cafes alone employ about 150,000 people in Australia, so even 5 or 10,000 here, it's obviously great news for those people. I hope it happens, but it's still not likely to dent the pretty significant increase in unemployment that we're likely to see.
What do you think, Adam? Do you think there should be a direct wage? Do you think, like in the United Kingdom and in New Zealand, people should be paid their wage?
Well, look, my gut instinct on this is no. I think the government's been sensible not to go down that path. My worry is it sounds good, but I fear that there's going to be an extraordinary waste of public money whereby there'll be billions given to businesses and they'll still sack their staff anyway, because it's just very, very hard as a government to enforce conditions once you give money. I mean, they simply don't have the information on, on what businesses are doing. So, look, it sounds great in theory to subsidise wages, but it's extraordinarily expensive in practice, and it's just not. I'm just not sure it works.
I've got to go quickly, Andrew, but what do you think?
Well, I agree. I'm actually of the view that these sort of temporary measures to try to assist businesses through a brief period, they're all sensible, but fundamentally they can only be something of a band-aid. We need a much more serious discussion about what are the conditions under which we will start to relax some of these very severe restrictions we've placed on businesses, and we need some metrics, and that's one thing that worries me. We've gone from a situation being relatively relaxed, making many more tough decisions, but we've started making very severe decisions about which businesses are allowed to operate and so forth without any good metric for what is the basis on which we've required that and what is the basis on which we'll start to relax them. I think, as President Trump has started to do, we need to start having a serious discussion about that aspect, because it's the uncertainty about whether a business will be able to reopen, get back to business in the near future, that is as damaging here as the virus itself from an economic viewpoint.
Yeah, and look, you make a good point. Even though the government can't say how long this will go, they can put in place some sense of the milestones that they would have to go through at various points in order to get back to where we were in January, let's say, at the start of the year. So, what does reopening X, Y and Z look like? What does reopening the economy 200 percent look like? Yeah. All right. Got to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Adam Creighton, Andrew Stone.